Hey guys, welcome back to another episode. Let's begin today by kind of covering our power issues from the previous episode. A lot of you guys have been leaving comments that enabling fast mode for the flux accessor is going to fix the problem with it. Basically, if you didn't know, we were having an issue where we weren't able to deposit all of our power being made inside of our turbines into our FE cell. And it was only inputting about, I think it was like 200 or 300 million FE per tick while we're making over 500 million. So let's kind of take a look at that from a throughput monitor. And we can talk about this. So here I'll put down a throughput monitor and then we can put power inside of it and change it to per tick. And you can see we're getting 506 million FE per tick going into our system. That's about what we're producing with our turbines. Obviously, there's these reactors that are also making power as well as our nitro reactors. So this is showing everything. But let's go ahead and remove this manager, which is only doing power to each side, so we can see this a little bit better. For now, I'm just going to remove the disk. When we do that, you can see this drops down to about 280 million FE per tick. And if I enable fast mode on the flux accessor, nothing changes. It stays the same. We can tell what fast mode is doing by looking at the guide from Applied Energistics. And it gives a pretty good description here that they have fast and normal mode. In fast mode, it outputs energy in every tick, which may cause lag if it is heavily used. In normal mode, it outputs energy depends on the target's stored energy, which won't cause lag. This is only talking about fast mode in terms of output. So it doesn't matter if you're using a different mod to interact with the power inside of your flux accessor, like using Super Factory Manager to input and output from it. It doesn't matter because the input and output is dependent on the Super Factory Manager because they don't have any input output limitations by default. So if I have a maximum integer value of power, 2.1 billion, that I want to insert into the flux accessor every single tick, it should be able to take that regardless if it's in fast mode or not in fast mode. The fast mode only applies when you have the flux accessor directly next to a machine that it is outputting power to that machine. When you turn on fast mode, it does that operation every tick versus basically how much, like I think if the machine is full of power, it's not going to continue to try to do that. That's how I understood it. So let's maybe try something different. So you can see in this case, it was doing 300 or 200 some odd FE per tick, and you can see that energy starts to back up inside of our turbine. So we can tell that it's not actually outputting everything in here. And these throughput monitors have issues. So every like 30 seconds or so, you do have to reset it for it to continue to show it. I'm not sure if that's a feature or a bug to save on performance, but so we're getting 283 million FE per tick. So if I go over here in Super Factory Manager and then do this output FE to the flux accessor, I am using each side in here. That's interesting. If I add another line and remove this guy, let's see if that does anything for us. 267, 123. So that does go down by a lot. That is so bizarre. If I do each side on both, I suspect that that is going to fix our problem. So now it's inputting everything that we're making. And it broke again. So we do this one more time. So for some reason, our throughput issues. Oh, and if, by the way, we check in here, you can see this isn't full anymore. It's 62.94, which matches how much we're generating. So every tick as we're generating it, it's able to pull that and put it into our into our FE cell over here. I haven't experimented with it to figure out exactly what is going on with this setup. I imagine it is a problem with Super Factory Manager, as much as I hate to admit that. So let's go ahead and try some flux plugs. And we're going to need 8. And we'll need a point to insert into our flux accessor over here. So I'm just going to test it with this to see if this is going to work. I will make a new network for that just because. We'll call it turbine test. So on our turbine test network, we should have no power going into here. And we're going to bypass the limit because obviously we're making more than 800,000 FE per tick. And let's go ahead and disconnect the power taps and replace them with these plugs. If we do that, you can see this doesn't do anything. I believe it's because we're using the passive ports over here. So let's go ahead and make some of the active ones. I'll have to reboot all of these. So let me go ahead and change over all of them to active ports. Well, actually, let's test that. So it is, okay, power is not going in there. So I'm gonna go ahead and disengage this to build up the RPMs, and we will reset up all of these turbines, and then I'll come back once I have that with all of the flux plugs. So here we are with all of our turbines turned back on at 1800 RPM. So we're making 63 million FE per tick for each one, and I've engaged all of the coils. And we've got these guys all, so you can see it is moving all 63 million FE per tick in here. And if we come take a look at this plug, you can see 500 million FE per tick being inputted into the flux accessor, and it's in slow mode. So if we remove this and try this again, it's showing 508 million FE per tick. So it looks like 505 million is coming from here and 3 million is coming from our reactors, which it seems about right, plus these 3 reactors. So it does look like it is some kind of an issue either with Super Factory Manager or the flux accessor basically interacting with Super Factory Manager. I'm not sure what's going on. I'll have to do some more digging around. But for now, I will just leave the flux point over here, and that's how we'll be transferring power. So I removed the other, what do you call it? The other manager. And then let's go ahead and fix the code over here. So instead of doing all of that, we'll get rid of it. We will leave this line of code because that's still pulling from our 3 reactors over here. But you can see it shows that all the other inputs that we have on these things are no longer connected by inventory cables, and that's what this warning is giving us. So if we shift click on that and we pull the new labels, you can see that it went ahead and removed those FE labels that we had in the world. So if you are using flux plugs, looks like you do have to use the active power tap. With Super Factory Manager, I was using the passive one because the active didn't work. So when you're messing with extreme reactors and something doesn't work or you can't input and output, double check your port and then try the passive version of it too. So they act a little bit differently. All right, let's move on from this for now. I want to add a little bit of quality of life things. We've built our base and it's getting larger, and having to run around everywhere is not as nice. So I want to put some travel anchors around, and that'll help us kind of move around a little bit easier. Travel anchors are from Ender.io, and it basically just gives you a way to teleport between different travel anchors really easily, kind of like elevators, but it's not just up and down. You can move in all 3 directions. Conduit binder is pretty easy to make. I might already have, no, I don't. So I'm going to set recipes for all of this. The pulsating crystal requires pulsating alloy, which comes from an alloy smelter. So we'll have to set up some alloy smelters, which is no problem. Let's see. We have some of this dark steel ingot that we got from our mob farm, because it comes from dungeon loot. But you can make it in a primitive alloy smelter to get started. This is the recipe for it if you don't have any dark steel. But since we have it, we're going to be able to make it no problem. So I'm going to need some alloy smelters. And I can set it up just over here. I think only just one will be enough. So we'll put down our extended pattern provider with our induction card. And that's going to power the alloy smelters. And what we're going to do is set them up around just like so. And I do want to change these to just alloying mode only. It doesn't matter because the pattern provider is going to put all the recipes in at once. So, but I don't know. I don't know why I like doing it that way. And you can see this one has a capacitor upgrade on it. These guys do require capacitors to work. And with Ender IO, you can make the best capacitor you can craft is this one, the octatic one, which has a base modifier of 3. I got this one from our mob farm from dungeon loot. You can't craft these ones, but they have random modifiers. And you can see this one has a base modifier of 3.993, which is really, really good. So it's almost 1 point better than what you can make with the highest one you can craft. So instead of crafting those, I can just look at more of these capacitors. So these guys that I've kept all have, well, these two have higher than a 3 base modifier, and we can put those in these alloy smelters, which will be great. And they're filling up with Fe. You can see it's really slow because Ender IO has limits on how much it can take. And this last one, I guess I'll just use this capacitor for now and we can make it better later on. We do also want to do the IO configuration. So from the back, it's going to be push-pull, and we can make our travel anchor recipe. So we're going to make, let's say like 5 travel anchors. And I guess one of them we can put over here. Like that. And we'll set this up. We'll make it visible and we'll call this A2. And the next one I want to put, let's say in our B area over here. So now you can see when I stand on this one from our B area, the A2 one appears. And if I press space, it's going to teleport us to this A2 one. And if I stand here, it's going to teleport us back. If you do make the travel staff or staff of traveling, which I can't make right now because it's going to require the soul binder, but the staff of traveling will allow you to teleport to travel anchors from anywhere you are. So you don't have to like stand on top of it before you can teleport to them. So there is that functionality. It also allows you to teleport through like blocks or walls. So I can stand here and then like use the travel anchor and go to the other side of the wall. Maybe we'll make that at some point. I don't love having a bunch of stuff in my hotbar if you guys have not noticed. So I'm going to forgo that for now, but the option is there for you if that is something you want. Here we can name this one Dungeon. And I guess, is that enough or do I want another one for down here? And this one I'll call Occultism. Right, so then I can go to Dungeon, I can go to our A2 room, I can go to our B room over here. And I guess we will make one for Extreme Reactors. Or how about out here? And we can call this Industrial so we can come here quickly. Those guys are really easy to make and pretty useful. Let me talk to you about one other thing over here that I made a change. So remember how we were having issues with our furnaces not being able to output to the pattern providers in time? Well, I went ahead and changed them. Instead of having the factory augment, so for some reason, when you add a factory augment, the auto eject feature from iron furnaces makes it so the auto eject happens every 20 ticks, but if you don't have the factory augment, it does it every tick. Let me build a little bit. Well, okay, first let me show you how this works. I want to put a wireless heat receiver over here, and this is bound to a block back here, to this guy, the wireless heat transmitter. So you put the receivers here inside the transmitter to link it, and then you can put them inside of the furnace, and it uses Fe instead of coal from this block. So I just set this here because we had a point over here, and this is powering all of those furnaces now. And instead of having the 6 factory slots, we only have 1, and they're going to be outputting every single tick. Let me set up a little demonstration for that to show you guys. All right, so I'm over here in my test world. This is actually a creative test world, or like that I have cheats enabled. And you can see in here, I was just like testing out some stuff before the previous episode, so that's why it looks different. But we're just here to test a quick thing with those furnaces. So as you can see up here, I do have cheats enabled in this world, and we can spawn things in from JEI if we shift click on this to enable cheat mode. And now I can click to give myself different things. So let's grab all of these stuff. And we do want a couple of unobtainium furnaces, 1 factory augment. All right, so I've got some things to set this up. Basically, we are going to do, here's a couple of drawers over here, and I will do something like that with our furnaces over here, and we will put a factory augment into this one, and the wireless heat guy we'll put over here. So here is our ultimate energy cube that's going to power this furnace automatically. And then over here, it's also getting power, and we're going to link the wireless card to that. So now this can also do it. So we're going to input from the top and output to the bottom, and I will turn on auto eject. Same exact thing over here. Input from the top, output from the bottom, auto eject on, so we can test this. These guys on the bottom, I'm going to put these maximum storage upgrades. Again, you can only get these in creative, but we're just doing this to test it. And on top, we're going to do something like raw iron, for example. So I'll put, raw iron in both, and we can put these creative vending upgrades, which is going to give us the maximum amount of items in there. All right, so what's going to happen is we want to move the raw iron to the furnace, and then as it smelts, we're going to wait for it to automatically output. So we're going to use Super Factory Manager to move. Haha, we can cheat. By the way, guys, I know about the Celestial Manipulator. We're going to set that up when we get into Draconic Evolution episode. So stay tuned for that. Game rule do weather cycle false, and now we will no longer get rain in here. Okay, where were we? I'm gonna move, using Super Factory Manager, move the raw iron into the furnaces, and then they're gonna output themselves. And we do want to be able to do this every tick. So I have enabled every tick operation with Super Factory Manager. You won't be able to do this by default. So let's get started. I want to say every tick do, we're going to input from raw drawer, I guess, and we will output to the furnace top side. So factory will be this one on the left, and let's put some signs. So that side's factory, and this side is regular. And auto split is going to be turned off. There's no point because the unobtainium furnace can do a full stack every tick. So when you turn this on, it just makes it slower. And if we grab a lever, and as soon as I turn this on, these guys should be getting filled up with raw iron and then starting to smelt them and push automatically down into the bottom ones. So when we turn this on, nothing happens because we haven't done our labels yet. There's the factory, there's the regular, and we have the drawers. I guess you only need one drawer. I don't know why I made two, but Let's test this out. So you can see as soon as I start it, this guy's already at 5,000, 6,000, 7,000, and this one is at 2.3K, even though it's a factory augment. So the problem is when you use the factory augment, the auto output happens, it seems to be every 20 ticks. So that's why this is happening like that. And this guy is actually, you can't even see anything in there because in one tick it's coming in and getting outputted automatically in here. So this you can see is actually the non-factory version is actually smelting things much faster than the factory version. If I get rid of these guys and we put some new ones in there with the maximum storage upgrade, oops, and we use Super Factory Manager to move the items. So I'm going to put a forget and then say input from. So if I do something like this, where we input from the factory on the bottom side and output to the factory drawer, and then we input from the regular. So basically, instead of it auto outputting, we're going to do every tick with Super Factory Manager. We need to label the drawers. So here is the regular drawer, and here's the factory drawer. So now, instead of them, I'm going to also turn off the auto eject. So instead of the furnaces automatically ejecting, Super Factory Manager is going to move it. Now, when I turn this on, you can see that the factory is much faster because it's smelting 6 stacks at a time. And you can see there's nothing in here because it's keeping up with it, right? So if you were to use a different kind of method where you can actually output, or where you can pull the items every single tick, then the factory is obviously going to be 6 times faster, right? So we have 26.7 and then 160K. If I take 26.7 and multiply that by 6, it's 160.2 thousand. So it's exactly 6 times faster as you would expect because it's doing it has 6 slots, so it's doing 6 stacks at a time. So that's the reason why I changed my furnace setup to be these regular ones, because it outputs every single tick. It's going to be much faster. Because we were having a lot of throughput issues. Let's go back and I'll show you in our other world. So back in our regular world, you can see I don't have cheats enabled anymore. These unobtainium furnaces have the wireless heat receivers, and auto eject is turned on from the front where the pattern provider is, and which means they can automatically output every single tick out there. So let's say, I don't know, what is a recipe? Like let's say silicon, right? I'm going to request 5,000 silicon, and let's go ahead and time that to see how long it takes. As soon as I press start, I am timing it. And I think that was instant. We might have to make some more. I'm going to try 10,000. Okay, that took like 3 seconds to do, right? So now let's grab our factory augments, all 4 of these guys. And we're going to upgrade these with the factory augments. Same exact thing. They're going to input an auto eject on there. And if I do the same thing with 10,000 more silicon. So remember, without the factory augments, it took about 3 seconds. And now there's 3 seconds. It's still not done. Look, everything's getting stuck. Something else that limits this is our pattern provider has a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 inventory slots. So in any tick, we can only output 9 items inside of here at once. So that was 22 seconds, much, much longer than having it with just the wireless heat receivers. So the other thing that is going on, let's make 10,000 more to hammer this point home. You can see none of these are moving. Like these furnaces are actually not working. And you can see 3 from here are moving. You see how it's like flickering? So only 3 are outputting from here. And it looks like this one. So the 6 plus the 3 from here, that is the 9 inventory slots for the pattern provider. So while these 9 slots are being outputted, none of the other ones can output any of their things. So not only does it do it every 20 ticks instead of every tick, but it can't actually output more than 9 inventory slots at a time. And 6 times 4, we have 24 inventory slots that need to be outputted, but only 9 out of those 24 are happening at once until those furnaces finish and the other 2 can catch back up, if that makes sense. So that is the problem with these guys. So what we can do is just remove the factory augments and put our wireless heat receivers back in and enable auto output, or it's still enabled, but that is how I solve that issue. We could use another form of, like, for example, if you use Super Factory Manager to move those items to the pattern provider, then we would be able to do 9 stacks every tick, which would be faster than 4 stacks every tick that we're doing right now. So it would be faster that way. The only problem with that is if I was playing by myself, I would change the config files for Super Factory Manager to allow 1 tick operation for items. But since I'm making a series on it and people tend to follow kind of what I'm doing, I don't want to change my game too much than like what the default is. Well, there you go. A little bit of nerd talk for you today. I actually quite enjoy making these episodes. I know it's probably not for everyone because we're not doing a ton in them. It's just kind of talking about nerdy specific things about mods, but I do enjoy making these, and a lot of people have said that they enjoy watching it. So I'll try to sneak some of these in as things come up that I'm interested in talking about through this series, but I will keep it separate from actual progression of our playthrough. That way, if somebody doesn't care about Nerd Talk, they can just skip these videos. But that's where I'm going to leave it today for this Nerd Talk episode. I will come back tomorrow and we're gonna keep going. So anyways, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoy Nerd Talk, and I will see you in the next one.